After using a college guy as a substitute lover, my first love returned. He saw me getting intimate with the college guy, his eyes red with rage. I'm back. Tell him to leave. But the college guy knelt by my legs late at night, his face shattered. Don't send me away, Vivian. I'll do anything. Ethan's birthday was also the day he completed 3 years as my substitute lover. I ordered him a $20,000 fondant cake, and he sang love songs to me, blushing. Halfway through the song, the private room door suddenly opened. A man I hadn't seen in 3 years walked in, holding a bouquet of gold-edged roses, his face displeased. The newly crowned award-winning actor Julian, my first love. The singing stopped abruptly. Ethan beside me froze. My friend started to tease. Julian's here? Quick, sit next to Vivian. Hey, you, move over. Don't be so slow. Ethan lowered his head slightly, his bangs hiding his emotions. He looked like he was about to cry. The fragile young college guy, when he cried, his nose and ears would turn pink, looking utterly heartbroken. I always liked watching him cry, especially in bed. But at this moment, my attention couldn't help but shift towards Julian. After 3 years, his physique was better, exuding the pheromones of pure male rivalry. His eyes held more depth and composure, his sculpted features possessing a distance, like an untouchable work of art. It made me want to conquer and ravage him, to see his pleading at the brink of collapse. In the few seconds of my silence, Ethan completely deflated. Tears clung to his raven-like lashes, and he said in a trembling voice, I won't interrupt your reunion. I'll leave now. He slowly put on his jacket and wrapped his scarf. He was clearly waiting for me to stop him. But I just nodded, saying coolly, go home and make some soup. I'll drink it before bed. Such a young man, always thinking he could manipulate me with tears. Dream on. I indulged him because he still had some value. A woman should never be constrained by a man. Ethan walked out of the private room, his face pale. I patted the spot beside me for Julian. Julian sat down, his magnetic voice tinged with bitterness. It seems you haven't been lonely these past 3 years. I handed him a glass of champagne, raising an eyebrow. You were the one who chose to study abroad right before our engagement. What, you leave the country, and I'm supposed to become a nun? Julian choked slightly, draining his glass. 3 years ago, I was just a useless heir. I wanted to become better, to be more worthy of you. I shrugged, neither confirming nor denying. Whose fault was it if he felt unworthy? I was actually glad the arranged marriage didn't happen. Otherwise, where would I find this freedom? When you're young, you should have fun. When you're older, find a good man who'll marry into the family and settle down. For women, experience is wealth. The sights you've seen, the men you've experienced, they all become stories in your eyes. Women are like wine, the older, the more mellow and fragrant. My friends vied to toast Julian. Julian, you wouldn't believe how much Vivian loves you. She even found a lover who looks just like you. She's hopelessly devoted. When you first went abroad, she'd get wasted at the bar every night, seeing you in every male model, but none of them were you. Don't worry, we only recognize you as our Julian. That Ethan is just a freeloader, not worth mentioning. I let them chatter on, resting my head on my hand, watching Julian's smile widen little by little. Men, they're so easy to sweet talk. After a few rounds of drinks, I leaned back into Julian's embrace. Julian's voice was hoarse and alluring from the alcohol, his hot breath tingling against my ear. I missed you so much. Don't go home tonight, okay? I indulged myself all night. My voice was still hoarse in the morning, but the experience was quite good. Although Julian was 28, his stamina and technique were better than before. A man's prime is fleeting, you should pluck the flower while you can. I quickly put on my clothes. Julian grabbed my wrist, his voice husky. Don't go to work, okay? We haven't seen each other in 3 years. Don't you want to spend more time with me? I pulled my hand away, slowly fastening my cufflink. Stop joking. I have an entire corporation to support. My time is money. Julian's lips tightened, his dark eyes deep. My film fees will only get higher. I'll support you. I chuckled. But I wasn't angry at all. Words spoken by a fresh-faced young man fueled by passion, childish but sincere, were quite cute. I picked up my Hermes Birkin, grabbed Martin's car keys, and said gently, come talk to me when your name is on the billionaire list. Julian was speechless. I spent a busy and orderly morning at the office. At noon, my secretary brought me a lunchbox. Gourmet soup/rich broth, gourmet mushroom dish/truffle dish, seared scallops/seafood dish, plus a cheese souffle. Ethan's cooking was superb. Besides his face, his cooking was also a great asset. Otherwise, I wouldn't have kept him for 3 years. I asked the secretary, "Where's Ethan?" "He used to come eat with me every day." The secretary replied respectfully, "Mr. Ethan left after dropping off the lunchbox. He seemed to be in low spirits." While eating, I picked up my phone and saw that Ethan had called me over 10 times last night. A message at 7 p.m, "Soup is ready, you can come home." 9 p.m, "I've showered." I even wore that tail. 11 p.m, "If Vivian isn't coming home, I'll go back to the university dorm." 2 a.m, "Please come back? Please, I miss you so much." I put down my phone and continued eating. He likely cried all night and was now sulking. I could just coax him tonight when I got back. As I expected. When I returned to the villa, I saw Ethan packing his bags, his eyes puffy. He deliberately ignored me. I grabbed his chin and forced him to look up. "Why are you leaving? Did I not give you enough money or not do it hard enough?" His eyes were red, pretending to be cold while trying to hide his stubbornness. "Your first love is here. As a substitute, it's only natural I should leave." I sighed. "Can't you feel that my feelings for you aren't just for a substitute anymore?" A flicker of moisture appeared in his eyes, and he said with immense grievance, "But you chose him last night, which means I'm not as important as him in your heart. Do you know I waited for you all night?" The soup on the stove boiled dry. He grew more and more round as he spoke, and then burst into tears. All these years of love and time were ultimately wasted. I frowned slightly and said, "I don't like men who cry. And I don't think I made any choice last night. This month, I've already doubled the amount for your mother's medical expenses and your father's gambling debts and sent it to your account. If you're still upset about last night, I'll add another 200,000 to your monthly allowance." Ethan stopped crying, his eyes bright and watery as he muttered softly, "Didn't make a choice?" He broke into a smile, wiping away his tears. I opened my arms to him, and he rushed into them, hugging me tightly. I patted his back, inhaling his clean scent, feeling the warmth of his body against my palm. A warm feeling welled up inside me. I couldn't help but sigh. "Actually, I truly do feel for you. An addicted father, a sick mother, a younger brother needing schooling, and a broken home. I know it wasn't easy for you to be a substitute. I can't stand to see men cry, and I certainly wouldn't do anything to make a man sad. By the way, have you showered?" Ethan sniffled, his cheeks flushing. "I'll go shower right now." I ruffled his hair. "Good boy. Actually, men are easy to coax. Just give them a little sweetness, and they'll be devoted to you." While he was showering, I opened my social media. Julian posted a picture from a costume fitting, showing off his abs. Caption, "Visible only to you." I liked it and commented, "Seen. Suggest increasing the intensity next time." The next second, a message from Julian arrived. "Coming over tonight?" I casually sent a picture of a wine table and replied, "Entertaining guests." Putting down my phone, I took a sip of Lafite. Trying to equally cater to every man's emotions was truly too difficult. Fortunately, I had everything under control. The next day, my company's star agent told me she had signed Julian. And Julian had contacted her himself. Julian had just won the award-winning actor award for a Palme d'Or-winning film and was currently at the peak of his popularity. Media companies in the country were clamoring to sign him, but he obediently came to my Sean group. I called him. His voice held a hint of a smile. "You don't need to be too excited. I was going to sign with a company anyway. This way, we can see each other often. Why would I be excited?" I raised an eyebrow slightly, saying calmly, "It's your fortune to be signed by Sean Group. I called to remind you that as an artist of Sean Group, you should be mindful of your words and actions, don't bring negative attention to the company, and also maintain your fans. If you're willing to work hard, the company has plenty of resources to support you. If you have a scandal, the company won't cover for you. Understand?" Julian was stunned for a long time. I flipped through documents and continued, "Based on our relationship, I personally picked out some resources for you. A literary film by director Liu, a commercial film by director Chen, and a dating reality show." Julian's tone heightened a bit. "A dating reality show? You're willing to let me participate in a dating reality show? Men are just emotional, far less rational than women." I said calmly, "The essence of a dating reality show is to send a more immersive idol drama to the audience, not necessarily to get seriously involved. On the contrary, I don't recommend you end up with a partner on the show. You just need to showcase perfect partner qualities to attract enough girlfriend fans." Julian's emotions calmed down, and he even chuckled. "I knew it, you can't bear to let me go." Although I disagreed, I generally didn't deny arguments that benefited me. When the dating reality show started filming, I personally went to the set to discuss with the director. I also planned to relax on the island for a few days. I bought a small 2-story villa there and brought a butler and Ethan to ensure comfort. Ethan looked at the sea and beach outside the window, bubbling with happiness. As he massaged me, he whispered, "Vivian, you're so good to me." I sipped my coconut water, lazily saying, "I got you some swim trunks. Go try them on." Ethan changed into the swim trunks, blushing as he said awkwardly, "They seem a bit tight. Do you have a size bigger?" I bit my straw, turning into a doryman. Who says they're tight? They're clearly just right. Good things should be shown for everyone to appreciate. If a man doesn't show off a little when he's young, who will he show off to when he's old and shriveled like a date pit? Ethan knelt before me, his amber peach blossom eyes exceptionally beautiful. "Did you buy things like this for Julian?" TSK. The competitive spirit of a young man. I shook my head and said, "No. 3 years ago, Julian was a high and mighty figure, indifferent to me. At that time, I craved his body and tried every means to please him. But he disdained it, even running away from the engagement. Who would have thought that 3 years later, when I no longer cared about him, he would cling to me, claiming it was because he was insecure back then. I didn't care if he was truly insecure or just pretending. I only believed that human nature is inherently cheap, and people admire strength. When you are strong enough, the whole world will treat you well. What first love, what golden canary, they are all just things in the palm of your hand." Ethan smiled, his gentle kisses landing on my legs, slowly moving down to my instep and toes. The air began to grow thick. Ethan's technique improved rapidly. After all, he was young and vigorous. Several times a day, he would try something new every time, thrusting and asking questions at the same time. "Is this comfortable? What about this? Again? Are you serious or just pretending? Vivian, say you like me. I won't stop until you say it." While I was busy, my phone rang. Ethan covered my eyes with his left hand and hung up the phone with his right. The next second, the phone rang again. This time he saw the caller ID and swiped to answer. Julian's voice came from the other end. "My agent said you bought a house on the island? Where is it? I'll come over when I'm done." I lay on the bed, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm busy right now. I'll send you the address." A sudden forceful thrust from behind made my voice change pitch immediately. Julian paused for 2 seconds, his tone clearly changed. "There's someone else at your place? Tell him to leave, now." Ethan pulled me into him, his movements rougher. My body was burning, my voice fragmented. Ethan's eyes showed a hint of ferocity, yet his voice when speaking to me was still gentle and coaxing. "Vivian, don't tell him, okay? I don't want strangers coming to our place." Julian was furious on the phone. "Ethan, is it? I'll make you regret this." Ethan hung up the phone directly and lowered his head. I wrapped my arms around his neck, the corner of my mouth curving up. I had a feeling no one would sleep tonight. I slept until 2 in the afternoon the next day. When I woke up, my phone had been blown up with missed calls. My agent sent me a concise line: "Julian quit the show." Ethan had prepared the meals, but I wasn't in the mood to eat. I stepped on the gas and drove straight to the filming set. Julian sat in the passenger seat, his face gloomy. He didn't say a word, as if waiting for me to apologize first. I opened my mouth and cursed, "A-lister tantrums, extra-level worthlessness. What do you think you are, damaging my Sean Group's reputation out there? If you don't want to film, fine. 50 million in liquidated damages, then go kowtow 10 times to the producers, get out of show business, and go play in the mud at home." Julian was stunned by my outburst, trying to regain control. "About last night, don't you have anything to explain to me?" I scoffed. "Who are you? Why would I explain my private life to you?" Julian's hawk-like gaze fixed on my face, a vein throbbing on his forehead. "Fine. Vivian, so you completely don't care about my feelings." I narrowed my eyes and lit a Captain Black. "I only care about people who bring me value." "Julian, you're not young anymore. Why are you still so childish? Men should be more sensible, don't go looking for trouble." I don't know what point I hit. He pressed the back of my head and forcefully pried open my lips. The taste of fur and wormwood mingled with his unwillingness and uncontrollable anxiety, attempting to regain his pride through this invasion. The fragrance from the cigarette lingered and burned in the small space of the car. I graciously indulged his outburst, knowing that the more out-of-control party is the weaker one. By the end of the kiss, his eyes finally turned red, and he panted, "He's more obedient and sensible than me, isn't he?" I took a drag of my cigarette, acknowledging it with silence. Julian reined in his emotions, his voice low. "Isn't it about value? I'll show you that my value is 1,000 times higher than his. I chuckled lightly, I'll be waiting to see. He was completely cooperative with the filming after that. Everything went smoothly. Occasionally, I would go to the filming set to supervise. My agent told me privately that when I wasn't there, Julian was just going through the motions. But when I was present, Julian's interactions with the female guest were always exceptionally enthusiastic. Hearing that I had eaten set meals for 2 days on the set, Ethan was heartbroken and quietly brought me food. After eating, he peeled pomegranates for me. He fed me a bite of pomegranate, and Julian fed the female guest a pear. Ethan whispered in my ear, "Vivian, Julian is so open. Unlike me, I can't do such intimate things with other women at all." The scent of white tea on him was intoxicating. I couldn't help but laugh. Unbeknownst to us, this scene was fully captured by Julian. The female guest's heel broke, and he immediately scooped her up in his arms. As he passed the monitor, his eyes lingered on me, as if challenging me. It seemed like a tactic to compete for my attention. But I praised the director directly, saying how good the romantic interaction effect of this scene was and that it should be shown from multiple angles and perspectives. This angered Julian, who dragged me into the restroom. He pinned me against the wall and bit my collarbone. "Why aren't you jealous? Huh?" I held his throat with one hand, giving him a reverse lecture. Chastity is a man's best dowry. If you don't respect yourself, you only become less valuable in my eyes. Why would I fight over something that's losing value? He struggled for breath, his entire face flushed and warm. Afraid he might enjoy it, I loosened my grip. Don't try to drive up your price by exploiting competing for male attention/female rivalry. Women might fight tooth and nail over diamonds and luxury cars, but they certainly won't over half a fried chicken/ribs. Julian leaned against the wall, physiological tears welling up in his eyes, and he said with a tremor, "Are you comparing me to a pig?" I scoffed lightly, stepping out, leaving the scent of Miss Dior behind. Back home, the sensible young college guy had already prepared supper, cut fruit, and run a bath. I sank into the bubbles, the hot water instantly melting away my fatigue. The man kneeling by the bathtub fed me strawberry tips. What a woman works hard for outside is ultimately for this moment. Ethan's break ended, and he was preparing to go back to school. Before leaving, he fed me until I was full and slipped a couple's ring onto my middle finger. He bit my earlobe, his tone containing cautious possessiveness. "Just wear it as a piece of jewelry, okay?" I hugged the blanket, still sleepy, and hummed in agreement. An hour later, my phone rang. I answered casually. Julian's voice held a hint of hesitation. "Vivian, I think I just saw Ethan." Half my sleepiness vanished. I sensed something wasn't right. Ethan should be in the city by now, he shouldn't still be on the island. I frowned and asked, "Where did you see him?" Julian said, "At the hotel we're staying at. He seemed to go upstairs, with some friends." Ethan didn't have friends on the island. I quickly got up and said coldly, "Send me the address." Julian waited for me in the hotel lobby. As he led me into the elevator, he observed my expression. "Don't get angry yet. They might just be going to the room to play games. Young college guys, it's normal to hang out and play games." I walked through the hallway without a word and started knocking on the door. No one opened it, but I could hear faint sounds and men's voices from inside. I looked at Julian, room key. Julian spread his hands. How would I have one? He was clearly trying to buy time. Without a second thought, I found a cleaner and snatched her master key, using it to open the door. The scene that greeted me was a mess. Two large men were holding Ethan down, and scattered belts lay on the floor. Ethan's mouth was gagged, his clothes disheveled, and there were bruises on his face. As soon as he saw tears instantly streamed down his face. Julian looked surprised, glancing at my expression, shaking his head and sighing. I didn't realize he had this kind of preference. Young people sure are adventurous. I raised my hand and slapped him. Julian covered his face, his pupils wide. "Vivian, why did you hit me?" I was so angry I laughed. "Do you think I'm some dense protagonist from a romance novel? You think I wouldn't see through such an obvious low-down tactic? Tell them to leave." After a moment of silence, Julian took a deep breath and gave a look. The two strong men exited with a hint of regret. I untied Ethan. He looked at Julian with bloodshot eyes, then looked at me. His voice hoarse with hatred, he said, "Vivian, can we get rid of him now?" Julian sharply turned his head. I understood what he meant. He wanted me to completely abandon Julian. The suppressed ruthlessness in his eyes even made me wonder if he had deliberately put himself in this situation. I gently stroked his head. "I'll take you home first." He obediently straightened his clothes, held my hand, and followed behind me. As we passed Julian, Julian tightly grabbed my left hand, his eyes red with a rare intensity. No matter what, he's tainted now. You said that a man without chastity is worthless, and you wouldn't touch one. I don't regret doing this. I still won. I sighed. You're wrong again. Chastity is in the heart, not the body. Most men don't understand this principle, but how could a woman not? He's not the one who's dirty. It's you. Julian staggered slightly, leaning against a cabinet nearby. I took Ethan and left. We drove directly away from the island and back to my city apartment/downtown home. As soon as we entered the house, Ethan hugged me from behind. I patted his hand, and he felt the ring on my middle finger. He chuckled softly. Vivian didn't take it off. I'm so happy. I didn't dampen his mood. In reality, I just hadn't had a chance to take it off. Wearing a ring doesn't mean you'll be faithful for life, and not wearing one doesn't mean you want to cheat. He was too young and didn't understand that a person's heart couldn't be bound by a ring. But if it made him happy, why not? After all, when he's happy, I'm happy too. Afterwards, Ethan, as usual, rested his arm under my neck. Against the warm glow of the bedside lamp, his expression was indistinct. He's an artist at your company. You won't deal with him for me, right? I nestled in his warm embrace, my fingers tracing the warm jade-like abs. I gently reassured him, Ethan, you're a smart young man. You know what to ask and what not to ask. My fingers continued to move downwards. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. Go to school obediently tomorrow, okay? I spent 7 days at the company and successfully landed a new project. Halfway through the celebration party, Julian's agent called me. His tone was unusually grave. Julian was in a car accident. Julian took advantage of the production team's bonding trip to drive alone to a neighboring city. On the way back, during a heavy rainstorm, he collided with a truck on a mountain road. He broke a leg. When I arrived at the hospital, Julian was lying in bed staring at the ceiling. He was pale and thin, one leg in a thick cast, suspended in the air. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and he struggled to pick up a gift box nearby. Vivian, I bought you the specialty pastries, e.g., with cherry filling, from that place you like. They're all your favorite red bean flavor. My favorite flavor had never changed. But years ago, he wouldn't have driven all the way just for me. Even if he did, he'd only buy the salted egg yolk flavor he liked. Late-blooming affection was like a mirage, pretty to look at, but insubstantial. I didn't dare step into it. I patted his shoulder. I'll try my best to condense your remaining work into 1 week. After that, I'll give you a long break. Hi. S. lips were dry and cracked, and he said with a bitter smile, so you only came to talk about work. What else? I retorted, who will bear the cost incurred by your personal delay in filming? You? Julian was speechless. A notification sound rang. Ethan sent me a picture of soup he had made. Almost ready to eat, my stomach rumbled, and I was about to leave. But Julian suddenly grabbed my hand forcefully, his eyes bloodshot. That truck driver deliberately hit me. He gritted his teeth, even trembling slightly. Ethan, he wanted me dead. I took the box of specialty pastries, e.g., with cherry filling, home. Ethan came out of the kitchen smiling, wearing a pink apron and holding a boning knife. When his eyes landed on the specialty pastries, e.g., with cherry filling, his expression became slightly nuanced. He smiled. Did Julian give you these? I nodded casually and took one out to eat. Ethan still smiled. Don't eat things like this for now. The food is ready. I picked up the specialty pastries, e.g., with cherry filling, and smiled at him. In your plan, wasn't I supposed to not get to eat these? These should have been Julian's last possessions. Ethan's smile froze, and something in his peach blossom eyes began to surface, unable to be suppressed. He told you? And you believed him? Although the accident was ruled as slippery roads due to rain, I watched the dashcam footage, and the driver's eyes were clearly off. In fact, it was precisely because of the slippery roads that Julian's life was saved. I didn't speak, just ate the specialty pastries, e.g., with cherry filling, bite by bite. Seeing me eat something from another man's hand, Ethan cracked quickly. Yes, I wanted him gone. He waved the boning knife, his eyes bloodshot. Who told him to compete with me? Vivian is my whole world. Without Vivian, I would die. I sighed, dropped the specialty pastries, e.g., with cherry filling, and extended my hand towards him. Come here. He whimpered, dropped the knife, and knelt down. He buried his face in my arms, greedily inhaling my scent to find stability. He mumbled excitedly, if only I could lock Vivian in the bedroom, the whole world wouldn't bother us. That way, Vivian would be mine forever. He grew more and more excited, his eyes filled with obsessive possessiveness. I'll tie Vivian's limbs up and throw the key into the sea. From now on, every minute and second, Vivian can only see me, feel me, endure me. The puppy will be Vivian's owner. Vivian can never escape. I couldn't listen anymore and slapped him. It stunned him. I said, whoever you are, get off him now. Then, I gave him 3 more slaps. Red, distinct handprints appeared on Ethan's face. He cried, Vivian, why are you hitting me? I said kindly, before you think about becoming the owner, consider your own circumstances. If you lock me in the room, who will earn money for you to spend? Who will support your dad and mom? Violating someone's personal freedom to satisfy your controlling desires and perversions. See, that's fine for role-playing in bed, but you actually want to bring it into reality? Do you think you're worthy? You've watched too many romance novels and think you're some obsessive male lead, daring to dictate to a vulnerable woman. As soon as I stop covering for you, you'll see how hard life is. Are you clear now? There are more slaps if you're not. Ethan's 2 standing hairs completely drooped. I got up, kicked him aside, and said, serve the rice, serve the dishes. Julian finished filming the dating reality show with his injury. As a reward and to soothe him, I specially booked a rooftop restaurant with a view. A special group deal for $299. Spend the least amount of money, make the biggest impression. Julian was cutting his steak, reminiscing with great emotion. I remember when we were kids, you would always wear a toy veil and chase after me, wanting to exchange rings and marry me. I focused on gnawing my lamb chops. Really? I don't believe it. Julian. Who hasn't done something foolish when they were young? When I was a kid, I used to send private messages to male celebrities on social media, telling them not to date and to wait for me to grow up. Julian continued to be sentimental. Actually, the old me liked you more than you imagined. I was just too naive back then and wasn't good at expressing myself. That's why we missed out on so many years. I drained a glass of fruit wine and slurped the kumquat inside. I said slowly, actually, you don't need to make excuses for your past self being an asshole. Not liking someone is not liking them, not caring is not caring, selfish is selfish. Why bother trying to sugarcoat it? Before, they just let their shit stink up the place, now they know to bury it. Unbeknownst to them, the shit has long since re-entered the cycle of reincarnation. Julian's expression almost faltered. He strategically took a sip of water. A drop of water slid from the corner of his mouth to his jaw, down his bobbing Adam's apple, and disappeared into the depths of his black velvet lapel. I gazed at the man before me without reservation. Gotta say, although his emotional intelligence and IQ were average, his physique and face were truly exceptional. A man without talent is virtuous. One shouldn't be too harsh on men of this caliber. It was my soft heart that always let our side down as women. I touched the back of his hand, soothing him, but I can also feel the effort you've put in, and our relationship has indeed improved. I know that as an artist, you've contributed to the company and made a certain degree of sacrifice. Actually, you are a very special existence to me, different from other men. You have a natural sense of detachment that others can't easily see, but I know that often you seem happy on the surface, but inside, you are as lonely and desolate as the snow in Iceland. I feel like deep down, you are always alone, and it's hard for ordinary people to get close. You want a little excitement, a little danger, a little unpredictability, even a little torment. You remind me of Borges' line, you are no more than each solitary instant. Sometimes I really want to understand you, to know what you're thinking, but I can't bear to break your protective shell. By the way, will your leg injury affect, you know? Julian's expression went from calm, to resonance, to emotion, finally freezing on the last sentence. He was confused, angered, and collapsed. Vivian, is this the only value you see in me? I scratched my head. You should be grateful. Many men don't even have this much value. Julian punched the air, speechless once again. He took a deep breath and finally asked the question he had been harboring for a long time. Ethan, how do you plan to punish him? Remembering how Ethan made me a lavish breakfast this morning and even personally washed and styled my hair. So I spoke from the heart. His actions were indeed extreme, but he just loves me too much. Julian slammed his hand on the table, furious. He almost killed me. I looked up at him. You almost let him be assaulted too. I shrugged. Your starting points were both out of love. You're both men, loving the same woman. Can't men empathize with men? These two were just weaklings pecking at each other, retaliating against each other. Referring to the substitute lover trope, the male lead's reaction is always to protect one and step on the other. I considered myself to be very progressive. Absolutely fair and just, treating them equally. Julian leaned over, bringing his face close to mine, saying word by word, between him and me, you'll have to choose sooner or later. It's either him or me. In fact, Ethan had also been subtly forcing me to choose recently. Giving me the ring was a hint. This made me very distressed. In Substitute lover trope, the male lead usually realizes the antagonist's evil intentions later on, then wakes up and enters the desperate pursuit trope. They all have a perfect female lead to choose from. But I only had two slightly flawed men. How could I choose? I chose to play dumb. And the male rivalry between the two men became increasingly frantic. Ethan wouldn't let me walk at all when I was home. If he could carry me on his back, he wouldn't carry me in his arms. If he could carry me in his arms, he wouldn't just hold my hand. If I wanted water, I just turned my head, and a straw was there. If I wanted a fragrant coconut from Thailand, he'd pick it for me the next day. Julian's leg injury hadn't fully healed, but to film the movie well, he joined the team 3 months early for training. He even had his agent get him more work, vowing to become even more popular to repay the company and my support. He was working so much it felt like he was flying through it, yet he still carved out a few days, flying back overnight just to see me. Just to have dinner with me and let me feel his abs. On the surface, they were harmonious, but in reality, they were subtly competing everywhere. On my birthday, they got into a big fight over whose cake should be placed in the center. Julian grabbed Ethan's hair and roared, "We're childhood sweethearts. We were almost married." Ethan counterattacked by poking him in the nose, retorting, "Childhood sweethearts can't beat the newcomer/fate. People who gave her up don't deserve to win her back." Julian pulled at his pants, yelling, "What do you know, you wet behind the ears kid? Go home and drink your milk." Ethan pulled off his socks, retaliating, "You old man past your prime, worry about yourself. Remember to stock up on meds on Double 11." Meanwhile, I leaned against the wooden staircase, holding a glass of champagne, watching the two men wrestle, completely losing their dignity. Finally, I let out a long sigh. Meaningless, truly meaningless. To fight tooth and nail, to be so pathetic for a phantom love, degrading their own appeal in the process, causing their own devaluation. Continuing to entangle myself would only waste my energy and time. I immediately called 911, "Officer Miller? There are young men fighting and causing trouble at my place." Then they were taken to the station. At the same time, I also provided some small pieces of evidence regarding Julian instructing others to kidnap and molest someone and Ethan hiring someone to commit murder. They wouldn't be getting out anytime soon. After all, a first love becomes like leftover rice, and a cinnabar mole becomes like a mosquito bite. There are countless men in the world. If they don't suit you, find new ones. It was just that my ears were suddenly quiet, and the large villa felt empty. I was holding a wine glass, feeling melancholic. Officer Miller, the handsome young officer taking my statement, spoke with a deep, pleasant voice. "If you live alone, don't open the door for strangers. If you're worried, you can place men's shoes by the door, cultural safety tip." I glanced over. The man had a high nose bridge and a distinct profile. A mole below his eye, like a tear shed by a past lover. The hand holding the pen had distinct joints, writing quickly, the script as elegant as the person. The youthful innocence and the uprightness of the uniform clashed, and I suddenly understood what love at first sight was, what fateful heartbeats were. Men are boys until they die, women love boys until they die. A lover's face, a woman's glory. My heart fluttered. I gently pushed my curly hair behind my shoulder. I said leisurely, "You know, I don't have any men living at home. Perhaps, could I borrow your shoes?" Officer Miller's pen paused. He looked at me, his thin lips curving slightly. "Ms. Shang, we need to maintain serious law enforcement while on duty. We can't joke." I smiled and shrugged. "I am not joking." The officer continued writing, "You might not have any men living at home, but you certainly have many male friends, like the two you reported." Interesting. My little scheme was exposed, but I didn't panic, my smile unchanging. "You also know how scary those two are. It just shows I'm not good at judging people and often fall into bad company. I urgently need a guiding light to help me." I leaned forward slightly, blinking at him through the brim of his lowered hat. "They say to come to you when you have trouble. Can you help me out?" The officer looked at me expressionlessly for 5 seconds. He suddenly looked away, cleared his throat, and pulled out his phone. I chuckled inwardly. Seemed difficult to conquer, but was actually an easy win. I was about to take out my phone to add him. He showed me his phone's home screen. Pointing to a blue app, he said, "I've downloaded the anti-fraud app/safety app. I won't be easily fooled by you." Me. Before leaving, he tore off a receipt and handed it to me, saluting, "Thank you for your cooperation. See you again." I clutched the blanket around me, watching him walk away reluctantly. Just when I thought I was about to lose my chance, I casually glanced at the paper in my hand. It clearly stated, "Officer name, Ryan Miller. Contact number, XXX." Pursuing Ryan Miller did require some effort. I wanted to give him a check. He said bribery is punishable by up to 5 years in prison or detention. I wanted to use my connections to get him promoted. He said it was an insult to his character. He didn't like me giving him cars and property, nor did he like me picking him up from work in my Porsche Panamera. The things he liked were quite abstract. He liked the expression on my face when I fed the cat. He liked my plate of overcooked shrimp. He liked my rain-soaked hair when I brought him an umbrella. It was clear when he was smitten. He would gaze at me intently with his beautiful eyes. Then his gaze would drop from my eyes to my lips. Before kissing, he would ask, "May I?" After I gave permission, he would awkwardly pull me into his arms and press a kiss to my lips with solemnity. Having eaten rich and exotic dishes, I found plain and simple food like this very much to my liking. He didn't have Ethan's obsessive trait, nor was he as dominant as Julian. He didn't want anything from me, nor did he try to control anything. He had no flamboyant characteristics, making him feel stable and reliable, like good marriage material/stable partner. To accommodate his work, I would specifically clear my schedule on weekday evenings and all of Saturday for dates with him. On Sundays, he would spend time with his parents at home. I thought that was perfectly reasonable. He didn't like going to bars or clubs, as they were basically half his workplace. He also didn't like yacht parties, because he felt the enjoyment built on money was meaningless. So we stayed home every day. He would cook for me. Although his cooking wasn't as good as Ethan's, it was still tasty and made with care. Besides that, he would wash my hair and body, trim my nails, and put lotion on me. He watered the plants in the house and cleaned up the cat's urine. The washing machine broke. I grandly ordered a new one. He stopped me, nagging that I was wasting money. Then he picked up his tools and squatted there for half an hour fixing the problem. I found in him the feeling that men describe as being good marriage material/stable partner. One day, I had too much to drink at a business dinner. He waited for 2 hours in the cold wind downstairs at the hotel, so he could take me from someone else's hands the moment I arrived. He would scold me the whole way home in the car. Then he would carefully clean me up and tuck me into bed. I woke up in the middle of the night. My pajamas smelled of the cheapest laundry detergent he chose. I used the Starly tea to feel his face. He was half asleep. Suddenly, an urge to marry him rose from the bottom of my heart. So I said, "Ryan Miller, will you marry me?" Ryan Miller mumbled in his sleep. I turned over contentedly and went back to sleep. A moment later, Ryan Miller suddenly sat up in bed. "Vivian, you were joking, right?" I rolled my eyes. "Didn't you download the anti-fraud app/safety app?" Ryan Miller started laughing, his smile as beautiful as a spring breeze. He hugged me tightly. "I'll take you home tomorrow." It was my first time meeting a man's parents. I was a little excited and a little curious. I prepared a platinum and emerald jewelry set for his mother. For his father, I brought some rare vintage whiskey/fine spirits, plus various luxury goods to give to his relatives. For this meeting, I even canceled an important conference. Ryan Miller came to pick me up early. Seeing me put on a Burberry trench coat and a Bulgari Serpendi bracelet, he frowned slightly and smiled. "Vivian, my parents' taste is a bit traditional. Can you dress a little more approachable?" Ah, right. This outfit looked less like meeting parents and more like going to negotiate an acquisition. I opened the door to my walk-in closet and gestured for him to enter. "I'm too lazy to think. You pick for me." He was happy to oblige. He picked out a handmade couture white shirt with no logo and a vintage plaid skirt I had forgotten existed. I changed into the clothes, tied my long wavy hair into a low bun, applied dusty rose lipstick, and looked at him. "Is this okay?" Ryan Miller smiled and took my hand. "Very beautiful." Ryan Miller's home was in an older neighborhood/apartment complex. There was no elevator, and most of the paint on the stair railing was peeling off. As he climbed the stairs, he asked me, "Are you tired?" I shook my head, "Not at all." His parents were very welcoming. When they saw the gifts, they were visibly stunned. Dee looked at their son, seemingly asking if it was real. Ryan Miller put his arm around my waist and smiled. "Take them. Vivian is the CEO of a listed company. This is her thoughtful gift." Mr. Miller and Mrs. Miller exchanged glances and accepted the gifts. Mrs. Miller cooked a table full of dishes. I picked out a few bites of what I wanted to eat. Mrs. Miller enthusiastically put some fried chicken/ribs on my plate. Eat more, it's good for your skin. I looked at the few hairs on the pork skin, smiled, and put it on Ryan Miller's plate. Thank you, I don't like this. Mrs. Miller's smile froze, and she didn't put any more on my plate. After dinner, we sat in the living room and had tea. Mr. Miller, picking his teeth, asked me, Vivian, how much bride price/settlement is your family asking for? I said, I don't care about that. I think it can be waived entirely. That amount of money was nothing to me. Mr. Miller was startled, and said sternly, that won't do. Giving bride price/settlement when marrying a wife is a rule set by our ancestors. I went along with it. If you care about these things, that's fine too. Mr. Miller's expression softened, and he said loudly, we only have this one son, and it's his first marriage. We're willing to pay $300,000 for the bride price/settlement. After saying that, he looked at my expression, seemingly expecting my reaction. I instinctively thought of the allowance I occasionally gave Ethan when I was in a good mood, which was this amount. However, $300,000 was not a small amount for this family, and it somewhat represented their sincerity. I held my pastries and nodded, okay. Perhaps my reaction was too calm. Mr. Miller leaned forward and said again, as for the dowry, it's fine whether your family provides it or not. It would be best if you could include a car for Ryan Miller to drive to work. I readily agreed, okay. He can pick any car from my garage, he usually drives those anyway. Buying a new one is fine too. I'm willing to provide $30 million for the dowry. After all, Ryan Miller will primarily be handling household chores after marriage and will need to take care of the children later, which is also quite hard work. As soon as I spoke, Mr. and Mrs. Miller were stunned. How much? $30 million? Even Ryan Miller frowned and looked at me. Vivian, you didn't discuss this with me. I raised an eyebrow. Is it too little? I can add 2 more properties in the city center. Mr. Miller finally laughed. He burst into laughter. You little girl, you're really good at joking. You act so convincingly, talking about cars and houses. Mrs. Miller also laughed. The young lady is quite amusing. Are you an actress? Before I could say anything, Ryan Miller said in a deep voice, Mom, Dad, she's not joking. The air was silent for a few seconds. Mr. Miller's hand trembled as he pointed to the platinum and emerald jewelry set and rare vintage whiskey/fine spirits piled by the door. Those, Ryan Miller said, those together are probably enough to buy a house. Crash. The teacup in Mrs. Miller's hand shattered on the floor. Mr. Miller fumbled for a cigarette and lit it. Mrs. Miller whispered to me, do you mean you're not quitting your job after getting married? I asked, confused, why would I quit my job? Mrs. Miller mumbled, a woman running a business openly, inevitably having to socialize and drink, it's not respectable to talk about. Besides, children definitely need to be raised by their own mother. How can you raise children without quitting your job? The harmony in the room finally cracked. I finally understood where that seemingly comfortable but not quite comfortable feeling came from. I straightened my face and looked at Ryan Miller. Do you think so too? Ryan Miller held my hand and said gently, I don't want to interfere with your freedom. But when we have children, we'll definitely need to make some sacrifices. I raised an eyebrow and asked, you quitting isn't an option? Ryan Miller's expression stiffened. Mrs. Miller's face changed dramatically, and she shrieked, how can that be? Our son worked so hard to get that secure job/stable career. It's such a good job, how can he just quit? Mr. Miller, holding his cigarette, slapped his thigh. Since ancient times, traditional gender roles/husband works, wife stays home. Men strive outside, women manage the home, being good helpmates to their husbands. I sipped my tea without saying a word. Ryan Miller frowned, Mom, Dad, stop talking. We'll arrange our own affairs. Mrs. Miller pulled him aside, lowering her voice, but every word clearly reached my ears. Sweetie, this girl is capable of making money, but unfortunately, she doesn't seem like someone who knows how to manage a household. Look at her nails, her face, her temper, she doesn't look like someone who will settle down. Ryan Miller gently soothed, Mom, you're really overthinking it. I know you mean well. I used to enjoy Ryan Miller's stable emotions. But at this moment, I only felt that his expression and voice filled me with an inexplicable anger. It burned so much I wanted to curse. I picked up my phone and called, Mr. Chen, the meeting will start in half an hour. I'll bring gifts to apologize. Ryan Miller was slightly displeased. Vivian, you're leaving now? I pulled off my hair tie, letting my curly hair fall down, and slowly applied velvet red lipstick to my lips. After applying it, I pursed my lips, picked up my bag. Let's break up. Ryan Miller's eyes widened, and he lunged forward, gripping my wrist tightly. Vivian, are you joking with me? That sentence reminded me of how we first met. If only life were like our first encounter. My anger had already dissipated. I could only say, cannot discuss profound matters with someone of limited perspective, saying, people on different levels can't eye to eye. Gotta protect my own interests. I smiled. I thought you could give me ordinary happiness, but I didn't realize you'd bring me a mediocre family. It was my lack of experience that made me waste time. It won't happen again. Thank you for your efforts during this time. The gifts are my severance pay. Don't bother me again unless it's important. Goodbye. I tried to pull my hand away, but Ryan Miller held on tighter. My words seemed to have hurt his pride. His eyes were slightly red. My parents were just thinking of our good. We can discuss these things further. You can't just leave like this, it's not fair to me. I turned my face slightly, calmly saying, then do you think your parents' malicious speculation about me was fair? He choked, trying to say something else. I said bluntly, you and I are not from the same world. You're happy with harmonious family relations. I just want to do as I please. Before, some people were after my money, some were after my looks. I thought you didn't want anything, which was special. But today I found out I was wrong. What you're after is the most precious thing in my life, my freedom for the rest of my life. To that, I just want to say, fuck you. Ryan Miller was speechless for a moment. I shook off his hand. Mrs. Miller picked up the platinum and emerald jewelry set and rare vintage whiskey/fine spirits, wanting to throw them at me. Not wanting my son is your loss. Take your trash back. Who knows how you got this money anyway? Mr. Miller, holding his cigarette, came back, also wanting to speak. I just laughed. Are you sure? The price of this pile of trash in your hand is something your whole family of 3 couldn't earn in this lifetime, you know. Mrs. Miller's hand froze. Mr. Miller started snatching the items back. You wasteful woman. You don't want them, but I do. Mrs. Miller wouldn't have it. Who said I don't want them? Give them back. Ryan Miller watched his parents tearing at each other pathetically, his expression growing more and more defeated. He didn't dare stop me anymore. At this moment, he knew deep down. He wasn't worthy of me. Stepping out of the older neighborhood/apartment complex. Financial independence is a woman's strength, saying. It can avoid trouble, keep petty people away, and distinguish right from wrong. Intelligence is the ultimate savior, saying. The cards are in my hand, metaphor. My own master is always myself. Getting into the pure black Rolls-Royce Cullinan. The driver stepped on the gas. I drove further and further away from that so-called trap of happiness. The further away, the freer I breathed. I took a deep breath, smelling the faint elegant scent inside the car, and smiled. The driver smiled respectfully. Miss, you seem to be in a very good mood. Are you satisfied with the Miller family? I rested my chin on my hand, smiling, and shook my head. Of course not. I'm very satisfied with myself.